Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton had huge nights last night. Dare we say inevitable? Well, we'll take a look at the math. Then our legal eagle is here, and we start with Trump University. The case, it is going to trial, and it could start during the Republican National Convention. Will the Donald take the stand? Also, Tamir Rice's family just got $6 million from Cleveland. Eric Garner's family got about the same, and so did Freddie Gray's. We will take a look at the similarities between these cases and also why they're often handled differently than cases that don't involve shootings with the police. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. A lot to get to this hour. I'm Richard French, and thank you for joining us. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they get closer to the nominations that after they trounced the competition last night. After the Northeast delivers another boost for Donald Trump,
I consider myself the presumptive nominee.
The frontrunner, who swept all 5 of Tuesday's primaries, turns his focus today to foreign policy as his campaign shifts focus to the general election.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
But his closest challenger, Ted Cruz, promises to fight all the way to the convention.
This campaign has now moved onto much more favorable territory.
What a great night!
On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton celebrates victories in 4 of the 5 Northeast primaries, now working for party unity ahead of the general election.
Whether you support Senator Sanders or you support me, there's much more that unites us than divides us.
Even though Clinton expanded her delegate lead Tuesday, Bernie Sanders isn't giving up yet, hoping for a rebound in coming contests.
The fight that we are waging is not an easy fight, but I know you are prepared to wage that fight.
So let's bring in Andrew Whitman, senior political correspondent, who was looking at the delegate math. And, it seemed, Andrew, just a couple weeks ago, that we're like, this thing's 50-50 at best, even worse before Trump won New York, that he could get to the magic number by the time he got to Cleveland. Math's looking better and better for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And just very quickly, we just saw Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. That race is just about over. I think we can just about put that one to bed. But on the Republican side, Rich, the last 2 weeks have been very good to Donald Trump. He won more delegates than expected and is once again ahead of the pace that he needs to win the nomination before Cleveland. But one bad night, and that's all it would take, one bad night could change all that again. With the 5 wins last night, Trump picked up 109 delegates, leaving him at 955. That puts Trump just 282 delegates short of the magic number, 1237, that he needs to win the nomination on the first ballot. But Trump is just barely ahead of the pace that he needs, and I've identified 3 key states to watch that could make or break his chances. The first is Pennsylvania, which voted yesterday, but there are still 54 unbound delegates from the Keystone State. They can vote for anyone. Trump should win between 33 and 40 of them. If he wins more, he's obviously in better shape. Win less, he could actually be in trouble. But we won't know that until the delegates either go public with their announcements or even until the convention itself when they vote. Next state is Indiana, which is a winner-take-most state. Delegates are only going to the winners statewide and in each district. Trump needs the lion's share of those delegates to stay on his pace, but he trails Ted Cruz in polling there. A big loss in Indiana could actually still sink Trump. Finally, California and its massive haul of 172 delegates. It works like Indiana does, and Trump is leading in the polls there. There are still 7 other primaries on the schedule besides these, but there are only about 130 delegates in play in those states based on the polls and how they assign delegates. So Trump can get the final 282 delegates he needs, but he's also, again, just one bad step away from falling short, Rich.
Tonally, there's reports, the Paul Manafort, the campaign manager that came on first to help him with the delegate math, and then he replaced Lewandowski to try and put an adult in the room to try and, maybe buff out some of the sharp edges of Trump. Worked for about a day, and then we saw everything we saw in the last 48, 72 hours. Today, again, Trump tried to be presidential, if you will, with foreign policy. There's reports within Trump's campaign that he's getting frustrated, that they're telling him to behave himself, and that he's given Lewandowski more authority once again. Can he behave himself?
Well, if you look at this from Trump's perspective, both routes sort of make a certain amount of sense. Yes, he needs to step it up and act more presidential and appeal to a wider group than the Republicans that he's already got in his camp so far. But at the same time, why would you quit something that has worked so well for so long in the primary process? So I understand he wants to continue to be the same Donald Trump that we know, the guy you tune in for because you never know what he's going to wind up saying. He needs to do that to hold on to the people who are already supporting him, but at the same time, he wants to try to attract more and more people. And by the way, momentum is a key in where we are right now in this process, and that's a word that gets overused when talking about the primary process. But the last night, Trump went over 50% in all of the states. In New York, he went over 50%. Those are the first states he's been over 50%. So it seems as though there's momentum moving towards Trump, and that would seem to work well for him
It
in the
always
states
works
that are
that
still
way when there seems to be inevitability on your
But
side.
then you get to Indiana, which votes next Tuesday. That's winner take all, or winner take most, rather. And Cruz is still leading in the polls. It'll be fascinating to see if Trump overtakes Cruz in those polls, or if the sense of inevitability that a lot of Republicans in the mainstream, a lot of Republican lawmakers have been talking about, starts to bleed over to voters themselves, and they say, well, he's inevitable.
And also,
I should get
will
on the
that
bandwagon.
Kasich-Cruz relationship hold up? And by the way, we see Cruz there with Fiorina. This is supposed to be some huge announcement a couple hours ago, although it leaked and was telegraphed. Does it make any difference? Her as a running mate for him?
Probably not. I've had a few people ask me about this. I suspect that this is a play for Indiana. Fiorina, you would think, would have the bona fides to do rather well in Indiana and add to Cruz's constant conservatism. And I suspect his campaign thinks that will play well. And of course, we saw from the Kasich and Cruz team up announced a couple of days ago that Indiana is sort of the last best place to try to stop him. It's conceivable that if Cruz gets the majority overall statewide in Indiana, Trump could only get 20 of the delegates in that state. He really needs 50 in order to stay on this pace. So that may be their last best chance to stop him from getting to 1237.
Good stuff. Andrew, thank you very much. All right, when we come back, we will pivot to the world of the law. We will bring in the attorneys, and first on the docket, the lawsuit against, guess who, Donald Trump and Trump University. It goes to trial right in the middle of the Republican convention. Donald, he's trying to brush it off, but the question is, will this one stick?